morning, children. We have already studied the lesson about fourth chapter, air and atmosphere. What is atmosphere? What are the layers of the atmosphere? 5 important layers of the atmosphere. Today's topic is about weather and climate. What is the difference between weather and climate? You might have observed that you often say, people say, today climate is very hot. Yes, is it right to say climate is very hot today or weather is hot today? So let us learn the difference between weather and climate. What is weather? What is climate? Okay, it's wrong to say that today's climate is hot. Is it going to rain today? Sometimes we ask, because seeing the cloudy situation, or we may ask whether it may rain today or will it be very bright today, or it's a sunny day, it's going to rain or it becomes very hot. What differences do we make, can we find in this? Okay, weather is hour to hour and day to day condition of the atmosphere. We already studied what is atmosphere. It's a layer of air surrounding the earth's surface. So here the condition of the atmosphere that can change from hour to hour, time to time. Okay, within one day the condition of atmosphere changes. We know that in the early morning it is very cool, and after some time when it becomes early morning, when it is cool, when it becomes noon, you can find slowly the weather change. Okay, the atmospheric condition change, and after noon again it becomes the noon time it is very hot, but from afternoon till evening the temperature drops and it becomes cooler, and night it becomes very cold. So the weather is the hour to hour or day to day condition of the atmosphere. Okay, now we can say a hot or humid weather may make one irritable. See here, when it's rainy season or summer season also, if it rains, in summer if it rains, the condition of the atmosphere become humid. We feel very too much of irritation. But when a pleasant or breezy weather, it may make us happy, make us feel comfortable also. When it becomes a hot, we feel irritation, or if it is a breezy day and if it is a cool day, we feel comfortable. So weather can change dramatically from day to day. Okay, every day the weather can change, and weather also from time to time it takes changes. That's why we say weather is the hour to hour or day to day condition of the atmosphere. It can be changing every day, the weather can be changing, but climate is different. We know what is the difference. The average weather condition of a place, okay, in any area, in any place, the average weather condition of a place for a long period of time, it doesn't change. The climate doesn't change every day. Climatic conditions exist for a long period, for few months or for few weeks. So the average weather condition of a place for a long period of time, which is called a climate. Okay, so that is the climate of a place. So the climate doesn't change every day. Now, how these are the conditions of the, we already studied the weather is the condition of the atmosphere, atmospheric conditions which changes day to day or hour to hour. What atmospheric conditions are changing, that we will study here. We know that what are the atmospheric conditions, that can be humidity, temperature, or the rainfall, etc. Okay, snowfall or rainfall, etc. That is all called the precipitation. The precipitation, humidity or temperature of the atmosphere changes. Okay, the temperature you feel every day is the temperature of the atmosphere. When you feel very hot today or very cold today, or sometimes when you take the today its temperature is very high. Sometimes people say today's temperature is 48 degrees Celsius, today is 30 degrees Celsius, like that. You might have heard the people say temperature. So the temperature is the what is the temperature? The hotness or coldness of the atmosphere is called the temperature. The degree of hotness or coldness of the air or the atmosphere is called the temperature. Temperature is the hotness or coldness, how much hot or how much cold the atmosphere is called the temperature. Temperature of the atmosphere changes not only between the day and night but also from season to season also. We know that in summer season the temperature is very hot, but winter season it is very cold also. Not only day to day and from time to time. From morning it's cool, but at the noon the temperature is higher. Okay, so not only day to day and hour to hour, but daily temperature changes. From season to season also temperature changes. We know it is very hot or extreme hot in summer, in winter it becomes colder. That depends upon many factors are there, and especially one important factor is that the amount of radiation from the sun we receive. Earth, we know that Earth doesn't produce the light and heat. Earth is a planet only receives the light and heat of the sun. Sun is a star, produces the light and heat. This radiation is received on the Earth's surface, so that the radiation of the sun rays are coming from the sun to the Earth. So Earth is a receiver, that's why we can find incoming radiation. Sun's rays which is coming towards the Earth is called the incoming radiation. There is a word we use, insolation. Insolation means the incoming radiation or incoming solar energy or the incoming sun rays to the Earth is called insolation. So insolation is an important factor depending on the weather and even the climate also depend upon. So why there is climatic changes or the weather changes occurring on the Earth's surface, that depends upon mainly the insolation. How much of amount of insolation is received by the Earth? Okay, depending upon that quantity or the amount of insolation, climate and weather of a place changes. Okay, so the amount of insolation decreases from equatorial region towards the polar regions, as we know that the sun and the earth. Okay, so you can find the amount of insolation received on the earth's surface. Okay, why there is differences of what is the reason the polar regions are getting less amount of insolation and the equatorial regions are getting more insolation? We know that the sun's rays fall vertically on the equatorial regions. Okay, sun's rays are falling vertically on the equatorial regions, but on the polar regions it falls slantingly. On the polar regions sun rays fall slantingly. We know that distance is more in the polar regions. The sun rays is see, the equatorial regions are very close to the sun. Okay, equatorial regions are very close to the sun. Vertical rays of the sun is falling on the equatorial region, but in the polar regions are very far away, and its sun rays are falling on the polar regions slantingly, so that it's far away, and the amount of sun rays or the insolation received on the polar region are very less. Also it is scattered and spread in this region. But on the equatorial regions which are very close to the sun receives more sunlight or more solar radiation, this region is very hot. And polar regions which are very far away receives only a less amount or a small amount of heat and light, so that these regions are very cold. We know that equatorial regions are always covered with snow, so polar regions polar regions are always covered with snow, not the equatorial regions. Polar regions are always covered with snow because of the less quantity or the less amount of radiation received on the polar regions. Okay, so here temperature in the cities also we can find what is the difference. Cities temperature is very high and villages or the rural areas temperature is lower. Why that difference also occurring? And even though it is a place, a city or a village which is located in the equatorial region or in the polar regions also, you can find differences in the temperature. Cities have buildings, okay, we can find the concrete buildings or metal buildings, concrete or metals which is used for construction of buildings and the roads. These are one of the important and factor. The roads are also constructed with the some sort of bitumen and concrete, etc. So these all are these are heated up during the day. Okay, this heat is released at night, so it becomes cold at night. But we know that cities becoming hotter, but in the rural areas or villages we know that more plants and more plants and agriculture also is done in the village regions or the rural areas. It becomes colder. Okay, not much heavy temperature, not much high temperature is found in the village regions. That is also another reason agriculture is done and natural plants and or forest also occurring. Construction of buildings and roads also we can find Kacha road is constructed on the villages, not Pakka roads are available. Another reason is the construction of buildings also we can find what are the materials occurred from nature they use. The construction thatched houses with the hay and sticks also in the huts are mostly constructed in the villages. So these are reasons we can find villages are colder and the temperature is higher in the cities also. So the crowd of people also are there found in the large number of population also is found in the cities. So these are also causes in the cities. The air becomes warmer and automatically they raise the temperature of the cities. Now we can find once again, let's revise the weather and climate. What is the weather? Weather we have already studied. What is weather? The average, the temperature or humidity or hotness or coldness of the atmosphere. Okay, the conditions of the atmosphere, whether it is the temperature or hotness or coldness. Okay, this is the the condition of the atmosphere is called the weather, and climate is the average weather condition of the atmosphere. Average weather condition of the atmosphere is called the climate.